It's great to be back in Brisbane and here at the Port of Brisbane. And I just commend the port owners and port management for the continued first-class work in the expansion of this truly important piece of Australia's national transport infrastructure. Back in the 1970s, a decision was taken way back then for the future to build this port. It was a pipe dream. Back in those days, you had a few ships who would deliver freight up the river a bit and not much past. But back then they had a vision, which was to build this new port at Fisherman's Island. It began as a very small enterprise. I remember it from my own state government days about 20 years ago. It was still not a big enterprise. Look at it today, this is a very large port of strategic importance to all Australians. And when I look at the further 2.5 kilometres of available frontage heading out into Moreton Bay, and 2.5 across the eastern end of the port development here, this is a massive facility for the future. In terms of Australia's defence infrastructure and defence industry future, Queensland is an important part of that. And therefore, we want to make sure that we're making the right investments everywhere for every part of our defence infrastructure. That means that we are in the process of using Task Force Navy Future, Task Force Future Navy, to provide the Australian Government with its conclusions within 2 years on where our future naval assets, currently home ported at Garden Island and Sydney, are deployed in the future. The Defence Posture Review, commissioned by the Australian Government some time ago, concluded that Brisbane and other Queensland ports would be useful for those purposes. So, my conclusion, and that of the government, is that we need this Future Navy Task Force to provide us now with the recommendations on one, the timetable for the implementation of the Defence Posture Review recommendations, two, the implementation schedule in terms of which ports are chosen, which units will be deployed at which ports, and thirdly, of course, the costing associated with it. Once that report is had from Future Navy Task Force, then we will, of course, make further statements on the rollout, including the allocation of funds as well into the future. So for Queensland, it's pretty basic. For Queensland, we want to build the new industries, the new jobs of the future, including those in defence industry, including those associated with the Royal Australian Navy. At the same time, we're going to make sure that in places like Garden Island, places associated with it off Sydney, are going to have more jobs in the future. Those jobs are going to come from a continuing naval presence at Garden Island, but also the building of new industries, including the cruise ship industry. These ships need to be maintained, they need to be serviced, they need to be berthed, as well as the enormous tourism dollars which come in from those ships as well. So what I see here is more jobs from new industries going to Garden Island in Sydney, and on top of that, in Queensland here, a big investment in the future which will involve billions of dollars, creating thousands of jobs for ports like Brisbane, Townsville, Cairns, but also elsewhere in the country, Darwin, Broome, and of course HMAS Stirling and Perth. So this is about our defence needs for the future, our new industry needs for the future, as well as, of course, the new jobs of the future. Queensland should be front and centre to that, just like the other states of Australia.